To you. So good to be meeting with you again. I have a more tender topic on my heart to share today, something that many women share, whether you have many children or not. But I'm going to share today from my perspective, my experience, talk about something that often we don't really talk about, which is miscarriage. It happens statistically to what I understand to be like 1 in 3 women. And when you are a big family mom like me and you already have more than 3 children, or you have 7 children or 11 children like me, I'm nursing baby Corey right now, miscarriage is still miscarriage no matter who you are. However, as a big family mom, there can sometimes be particular things that we walk through and experience or hear that can add to what is already a painful experience that is nothing short of grief, because it's death. There was life, and now there's death, and there's loss. So I'm going to share from my heart, from my life, and I'd love to hear what you have to share, because quite often what adds to the pain of miscarriage is not talking about it. And if you don't want to talk about it and it's just easier for you to grieve in private, it's totally okay. Everyone has their own way of dealing with grief. I have found it helpful to talk to trusted people when I've walked through pain of any kind. So I totally get it. If like just talking in a Facebook group isn't necessarily a means of grace to you, but sometimes just listening and hearing others people's experience can really validate our pain and sometimes give us hope for the path forward. So without getting, overly, I guess, into the details, I do want to share a little bit of my miscarriage experience. Happened just before baby number 6, who's about to walk past the screen right now. There's Malachi, who's about to turn 9. So, hey, bud, off you go to play, okay? I'm just having a chat with our friends. Thanks. So it was right before Christmas, before he was ever a twinkle in his daddy's eye. And I just had found out I was pregnant with what would have been baby number 6. And I was so excited. And we seem to have a trend in our family of baby announcements happening around Christmas time. I can wait long enough before people find out. So I was so excited. And I decided to do something that I had not yet done. I was going to surprise my husband as well. So I actually, like Mary, treasured these things in my heart, and I kept it just a private joy that I was savoring and marveling and giggling about on the inside, because we had fully embraced the blessing of children, where we used to be so scared to trust God with anything more than 3 kids. God had done a beautiful work in our heart when we had, 3 under 3, another story for another time. So I had come to a point where God had completely changed my heart, my mind, that to be genuinely excited for baby number 6. And I was going to surprise everybody. And it was a week before Christmas when I found out. So I thought I could wait one more week. I don't think my husband would feel like I should have let him in on it, if it was going to be months and months of waiting. And then before the time came, I miscarried. And that was that. And what was going to be joy turned to sadness. And I kind of thought, well, it's so young. It was so early. First trimester, just a couple of weeks. Like there was hardly any time for the baby's body to really form very much, like maybe a blueberry-sized child. But that's just it, right? To me, like this wasn't a clump of cells or a not yet human. To me, this was a full human being, just really, really, really young. That's my theology. That's the way I look at life. And that's by the grace of God, because I certainly didn't grow up thinking that way. That was until I was 21 and got saved by the grace of God. And he began transforming me by renewing my mind according to his word. And I began to really rethink, what is human? What is life? What is God? What is all of this? And everything has been, even to this day, growing and changing and renewing my mind according to his word. So when the sadness hit me, it hit me like a truck. I felt it in my chest. Like when I feel pain, I feel it right in my chest. My heart literally hurts. I remember standing in the kitchen once I knew it wasn't just early spotting. It was over almost before it began. I don't think about this every day anymore, but at the time, it was all I could think of all day. And it took weeks until it began to get breaks from the sadness and the weight and the heaviness. I remember standing in the kitchen and I was just taking care of my family, making supper, and just crying and weeping for a child I'd never hold in my arms. I just held in my womb and let go, because the thing is, it was never my child to like have, like none of my born children are mine to, God, you owe me. Just because I've embraced the blessing of children, he doesn't owe me anything. It's all by grace. And I remember that grief. And like I said, I don't think about it every day. But when it's fresh, when it's right then, when it's only been a couple of weeks or a month, or you've gone through it before and then you have them back to back, which friends have shared with me, that experience of having not one miscarriage, but 2 or more in a row. Oh, and then sometimes I get it. Women choose to keep their first trimester private and share it classified, right? Don't announce it until they're well into their second trimester. That's totally an understandable choice. And I understand being afraid to trust God again, because I got pregnant 2 months later after my miscarriage. We didn't try to prevent children. We haven't attempted to prevent children in any way, shape, or form since we let go and let God 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was scared of what would happen, that it would happen again. And I felt guilty that the first many weeks, even months of my pregnancy with Malachi, who's now 9, I was in this like state of stress and anxiety, holding, like almost bracing myself for impact, because that pain was only 2 months earlier. So I understand the pain. And now, as a big family mom, what added to that was that there were some people in my life who happened to find out or knew that I had experienced a miscarriage. And I'd like to say they meant well. God knows. But they said, well, you have so many children. What is that supposed to mean? That losing a child doesn't hurt? But just because it was so young, it doesn't hurt? That I don't have permission to grieve? I mean, like I don't think they were trying to make it worse. And I get it. Our culture, different families, even within our cultures, don't really know how to handle grief. We don't get special training on it. Or if our parents aren't, haven't maybe done a stellar job walking with us through the big emotions of grief and pain and anger and sadness, we don't even know what to do with all of that, much less how to walk alongside somebody who's going through, the stages of grief with shock and denial and sadness and bargaining and anger, and finally coming to a place of acceptance, rebuilding and release. There you go. The stages of grief, which apparently have moved from 5 to now 7 stages of grief. And yeah, so I was very careful when my next pregnancy came, who I was even going to share the fact that I was pregnant with at all. So as a big family mom, it can be pain upon pain and stress upon stress to walk through miscarriage, which is bad enough as it is. But then to have kind of like Job's friends, they were really good when they didn't talk. But once they started talking, oh my gosh, it was like you were so much better when you said nothing at all. I didn't attack these people who meant well. I just noticed in myself that it really stung. And one takeaway was, I will be different when a friend chooses to share with me her pain, her loss, her grief, that I will sit with her like Job's friends in the ashes and just be with her. Because what do you say? It's a mystery. Some people say, well, there was probably something genetically wrong, so it's all for the best. I don't know. And even so, if a child had come out less than perfect, I would have loved that kid with everything I had. I don't consider it necessarily like I dodged a bullet. it's cold comfort. It's no comfort at all. So I've certainly learned in the fire of my own pain and loss how to be more compassionate, more understanding, a better friend to those who walk through it as well. And since so many women, big family moms, small family moms, first time moms, experience this, and it's just shrouded with a lot of silence, and we often grieve, and there's certainly dignity to grieving in private. I just wanted to almost like pull off the stigma that if it helps you to talk, it helps you even just to say, I never really processed this, or I processed it really badly, and I'm still dealing with a lot of fear. I'm scared to get pregnant again. I'm scared to tell the people that I'm pregnant again. I'm scared because I've walked through this so many times, and people have been so unhelpful. They've only added to my pain. And I get it. We recoil from pain, right? We don't go seeking it. And yet we can hold back from trusting God with the blessing of another child that we may only hold in our womb and never hold in our arms. And then people say, well, you had another kid, so that makes it all better. No comment, right? Like, exactly what I'm talking about. And hey, listen, if you've been one of those people who said those things, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that to my friend. Always go back and apologize if it's really, bugging you now, and be like, we can go back and say, I was thinking about what I said when you went through that loss, that miscarriage. And I realize now I meant well, but I'm sorry. If I added to your pain, please forgive me. Like, you can make it right. You can make it right. Or if you just didn't know what to say at all, maybe send a card now, even if it's later. One thing I did that no one really instructed me to do, it just helped me. So I'm going to share it with you in case you've gone or are going to go through a miscarriage, especially as a big family mom, where you think, life's going to go on, and I am going to go on, and years will go by, and I may yet forget. Though does the heart really forget? I mean, you just saw me break down again. I think about it every day, but I wanted to honor this child's life as I released this child's and the span of their lifetime into the hands and the mystery of the will of God, who determines there's a time to be born and a time to die. And this child's life was very short in the way we measure time. And yet this is an eternal soul who I trust into God's care for eternity. And I trust is in the good care of God. And I'm okay to leave that child in that good place of the mystery, the will, the heart of God. I chose to make a ornament. Actually, I bought it. I didn't make it. I purchased a snowflake ornament that was beautifully made out of lace. And it was so fragile and yet strong and beautiful, handmade. Got it at like one of those like grandma Christmas craft places, because I like to go to like Christmas teas and bazaars, which we haven't done in 2 years. But there was a time, we remember way back when we used to do stuff and go places and just shop and have fun and mingle and be really close and packed together and not worry about it. Yeah, those good old days. She wants some more. I'm going to put it on the other side. I bought a snowflake ornament, but this big. And it has a little tag on it. And I put the year, I put December of that year, but I guess it would have been 2011. And I wrote down little one. I gave the baby a name, maybe not like a traditional name, like, Robert or Joe or some kind of, could have been a Chris, could have been a boy or girl, because God even knows that was a boy or girl. So I wrote little one, and I gave the child a name and a memory. And I think of that little one at Christmas time, and sometimes I smile, sometimes I shed a tear. And that's helped me to honor the life. So I wanted to share that with you in case you have gone through this or will go through this, that I'm with you. There are many other women, big family moms. We know, because we've had that many more children, that many more pregnancies, that many more miscarriages. Some have had none and can almost feel survivor's guilt. Like, oh no, or gosh, is it going to happen to me any day now, like a ticking time bomb? If you've gone through it and you could use some support, as a big family mom especially, please feel free to pop into my Big Family Moms community. It's a beautiful growing community of moms who love God, love each other, and are walking the road of big family mom life with its struggles, with its glory, and all of us are growing by God's grace. So please know that this is my warm welcome to you. Life has gone on, like I said. Christmas now is a time of remembrance, and it's not a deep pain. And I'm well aware now that I'm 43, I could still yet walk that road again. Every pregnancy test that I have on average every 2 years, there's joy and there's always a knowledge there could be pain. And yet I choose to trust, even in the face of the possibility of the grief of miscarriage. I've gone through it. I may go through it yet again. And God will go through it with me. And that brings me such comfort to know that for all of the pain and the pain upon the pain by sometimes other people's stuff, God's grace, his comfort, is stitching me back together just like he stitched together my C-section, because I've had 10 of them. I've never had a vaginal birth. But he brings me back together. He stitches my heart back together and helps me to love and to trust and to let go and to embrace the mystery of love and life and God in the midst of having a big family. So just wanted to share that with you from my heart today. I'd love to connect with you in the group. And if you feel it would be helpful to share your own miscarriage story, if you want to honor the memory or the memories of those who've gone before who maybe never had a name, maybe just giving a name to those childs or a type of name, or doing something symbolic, like some people plant a tree or, make a garden or something to honor the memory. If that's important to you and you'd like to share that experience or what else has helped you, I'd love for you to feel free to share that in the comments below, wherever you're catching this, because together we can overcome struggles and grow in God's grace, especially when we walk through the pain of miscarriage. So God bless you today. I'll connect with you in the group. Otherwise, take